to this 1850 points game. It's a different one. Tyranids against Necrons. We're playing on this terrain here, this sort of conifer forest. It's interesting, you've got a hillside with a tower coming down, you've got this winding river, and coming across you've got an outer perimeter fence, and on top here an Imperial compound full of boxes and barrels, quite a lot of stuff, and you've got all even the lights there as well. Quite an interesting bit of terrain to play for this game of 40k. So it's a nice table. Looking forward to these two armies fighting across this terrain. Alright, welcome to 1850 points game. It's Necrons against Tyranids. So we'll run through the Necron list here. It's 2 Knight Scythes. Each of those has 6 Necron warriors inside. So that's 2 troops choices with their dedicated transport flyers. And then we'll cross over to 2 monoliths. Quite intimidating looking. And coming down, fast attack choice. It is 6 of the Wraiths. 2 units of Scarabs. 2 units of 3. And then unit of 3 Tomb Spiders, just no upgrades at all, just 150 points. And then a Catacomb Command Barge, and in there is a Necron Overlord, and he's got a War Scythe, so he's just 100 points for him. And then the final troops choice here is a unit of 9 Necron Warriors, and then a Necron Overlord again with War Scythe, Resurrection Orb, Phylacteries, 2+ saves, got 3+ invuln save as well. And a couple of other little upgrades, and there's about 200 points for him. And then finally the Ghost Ark dedicated transport. So that's the Necron force. The machine army there is looking to take on the Tyranids in this interesting game. Both armies have never played each other before, so it'll be interesting to see how the two forces adapt to each other's style of play and tactics. Right, it's 1850 points. Tyranids against Necrons. The Tyranids here, 1 Tervigon, and then he's been taken as a troops choice because we've got 2 units of 10 Gaunts here. So there's 3 troops there, 1, 2 and 3. And then we'll go straight into heavy support. 1 Trigon here, 1 Morlock, and then a brood of 2 Carnifexes. And then there's unit 6 Raveners. And then for HQ, you've got the Hive Tyrant with 2 Tyrant Guard. It's got Lash Whip, Bone Sword, and Stranglethorn Cannon. And then finally, Hive Tyrant with wings. So the Tyranids have got a flyer as well. That's the Tyranid force. A lot of monstrous creatures there, and all of those again, as the standard for my Tyranid force, they've all got the regeneration special rules, so they will regain lost wounds on rolls of a 6. So Tyranids versus Necrons, an interesting clash. We'll see how well each army does as we go into deployment and the first turn of the game. Right, the scenario is the Emperor's Will. So there is 1 objective each. The Necrons are at this end, and you can see just on the steps there of the tower is the Necron objective. And then coming around, the Tyranid objective is just there. The scenario, or the deployment, is Hammer and Anvil, so it's end to end we're playing. So the Necron deployment zone is across here, just following that line of dice up the table. And then coming across, the Tyranid deployment is following this blue line of dice up here. So it's Tyranids here, and they'll be flooding across the valley over and up to the Necrons here, and there'll be flyers flying across as well. Really interesting looking game, this one. Quite an exciting one, and 2 armies that have never played each other before. Both forces have made good performances in previous games, so it's going to be interesting to see how this game turns out. So moving on to deployment now, and then the first turn of the game. Right, Tyranids have deployed, and they are right at the back here. I'll show you why in a minute. So they're all roughly about 6-8 inches in. So the 2 Carnifexes here, and then 2 units of Gaunts, with the Tervagon, and then the Hive Tyrant as well, and then the Morlock's just here, but he'll disappear on turn 1, hoping to borrow up on future turns. Looking out across the table, and you can see why as you look up. Domination of the monoliths on this table, deployed them right up to the edge of the deployment zone. I've got that 24-inch range, so we're already in range up to here. We're going to creep forwards and have steadily advanced. And then behind the monoliths you can see all of these nasty Necron surprises. You've got the Tomb Spiders there, 2 units of Scarabs, and then over there a unit of Wraiths as well. And then just sitting on the objective is the Necron Ghost Ark as well, but that's quite a strong setup from the Necrons. And then the Tyranids are going to sit back by the looks of it and then use their deep striking units to challenge my objective. So it is Tyranids first, and let's see if Necrons can steal the initiative as we move on to turn 1. And then in reserve for the Tyranids, deep striking will be the Raveners, and then the Trigon will be deep striking as well, and then this guy will be flying on from reserve. Then in reserve for the Necrons is the Catacomb Command Barge, the Necron Overlord with the War Scythe, and then the 2 Night Scythes are going to be flying on as well. And then these guys are just in the Necron Ghost Ark. So we're just wondering in this game how the Tyranids are going to cope against this Necron line of monoliths here. It's quite a dominating force with some good shooting power there. How the Tyranids going to deal with that? But we underestimated them in the last game against the Eldar, so I'm not going to criticise at this point as the Tyranids begin advancing up the table. Right, Tyranid movement on turn 1. He's done his movement and his run moves. The Tyranids are finished. Not much movement going on. This looks like the force you're looking at here is going to be a holding force. He's determined to hang on to the objective. He's got some tough units to do it. So just a bit of shuffling about. He bred a unit of 7 Gaunts. They're just here, and he rolled a double 3. So that's the end of the breeding from the Tervagon there. So it looks like these guys are going to hold the perimeter with some heavy support as well, just to stop the Necrons. And what you're looking at is going to be a steady advance from the Necron forces here, but it's going to be a cautious advance because the Tyranids have still got units to bring on that are going to deep strike and fly on the table. So we're going to move on now to Necron turn 1. Right, Necron turn 1. We've done all our movement. There's no shooting, and so we've done our run moves as well, so the whole turn's finished. Ghost Ark's just stay where it is, just sitting on the objective. Easy job, that one. And then advancing up the table, up and down the valley now. The monoliths are on the move. So those have moved down, and then the Tomb Spiders moving behind them, and then round the other side, the Wraiths have moved up and behind this one. And then 1 unit of 3 Scarabs here, and then the other one, we bred 3 more of them, so there's a unit of 6 now in that woods. So coming up to halfway across the table already. That's the end of turn 1, so we're going to move on now to Tyranid turn 2 and see if any reserves and deep strikers arrive as the game begins to pick up pace. Alright, here we go, it's all happening on turn 2. So the Hive Tyrant has arrived, he's flown on, swooping at the moment, gone 24 inches. Looks really nice as he glides over the top of this battlefield. And you can see that the Morlocks turned up, bang on target, bursting through the woods, and killed 2 of the Scarab bases, and then has pushed the rest out of the way. So an immediate threat there from the Tyranids. He wanted to land here with the Raveners. He scattered off table, and and it was the result where the opponent can choose where you want them to land. I've got a plan for them. I want to put them here. You may say, well, that's crazy, landing near the objective, but I hope to be able to destroy those with concentrated firepower from this barge here and get them wiped off out of the game. Let's hope it works. Could be a bad move. So Necron force advances up here. Tyranid attacking units arriving. And then just here, really, he's just hanging around his objective. He wants a strong force to hold on to it. And the Carnifexes are just moving up here. So really, it's going to be a difficult game. It's one objective each. There's 3 points there. And then First Blood is going to be crucial. That could be the point that actually decides the game. Also, Line Breaker is going to be important. These points that on other games don't have such an impact. On this one, it's going to be each point is really going to count towards victory. I imagine it's going to be a tight game. But we'll move on now to Tyranids shooting on turn 2. Night fighting has already been. Didn't mention it on turn 1, but night fighting has been and gone. There was no shooting anyways. Didn't make any difference. So we're going to move on now to Tyranids shooting on turn 2. Right, turn 2 for the Tyranids with their shooting and run moves. These guys rolled a 6, so that's annoying. They've now run into the cover, so we're going to have to try and flush them out of there. Created a problem for ourselves here, but we've got a good Necron force to deal with them. Then coming down, the Morlocks run back in this direction, and then the Flying Hive Tyrants rolled an 8 for its run move. So it's now here, poised and in good position to assault the Necrons on the next turn. I hope we can get some flyers on to deal with them. And then here, not much movement really. These guys just shifted up 1 inch as they ran. And then he fired the Stranglethorn cannon. Large blast, decent enough gun. Came across firing at these, but scattered and missed. So that's Tyranid turn 2 finished. Going to move on to Necron turn 2. We'll see what reserves come on. Right, Necron turn 2, some reserves have arrived. Just looking at the situation here, so we've got this ruin here and it's filled with Raveners. What we've done is we've brought the Ghost Ark around, which scores flare array, and then the guys have got out. It is open top, so we'll be able to assault after firing. And one of the upgrades that I gave the Overlord there was Phaeron, so they will be able to fire their weapons at 2 shots each at rapid fire, and then they'll be able to charge as well. And then to try and wear down the Raveners, I've advanced the monoliths forward. We're sticking to the plan. We're going to try and assault this position with our templates, but we're going to fire backwards and then try and knock out some of the Raveners with our template weapons there. That's the plan. Flyers arrived here, looking down the table, and we'll be able to take on his winged Hive Tyrant. So there's that one. And then we've got a plan to deal with this. Just thinking about how to use the Scarabs. Not really many vehicles around. We know that the Morlock only has a few attacks. So if I can throw in both units, that should be able to tie him up, at least for a while. And then the monstrous creatures here in support to regenerate. We've bred another 3 of those. There's a unit of 6 and a unit of 4. Then coming up and around the table, there's the Tyranid position. The Wraiths, I thought about bringing those back, but we want to stick to the plans. They've broken cover from behind the monolith, and they're coming down here, heading out across the river, very fast. And then we'll run them, then come up the bank and start taking on some of his heavy units. And then on from reserve is the Catacomb Command Barge as well. It's come on 12. Looking to move out across the table as well. So that's Necron movement on turn 2. Going to move on to shooting now. Right, here we go. First template then coming down from the monolith. A nice hit would be good. It is. We've got a hit. So there's 1. There's 5 guys underneath. So we're going to roll that up now. Just need 5 dice. 2s to wound. They're all wounded. So 5 cover saves of 4+. So we've got 1, that's instant death, so there's 1 gone. Right, it was an ordnance weapon that hit them, so we reckon that he's pinned, he's fouled. He's rolled a 7 for morale, he's not in Synapse's range. And then we're going to drop the second template from the monolith. And we don't want to scatter on top of the... Well, no, that's another hit, so it's another 5 again. So we want, 4 saves.
3 up.
Yes, 3 plus. All pass, not bad. And we're just going to snap fire with the remaining player arrays there, and there's no hits there. Right, shooting phase for the Tyranids on turn 2. We saw the large blast hits from the 2 monoliths deal out some damage and pinning the Raveners. He fouled 3 cover saves from hits from the Ghost Ducks. That was another Ravener killed. And then another 5 wounds from these guys firing as well. So that's effective shooting. He fouled morale and has bust and run off in this direction. So it's quite impressive from the Necrons. Don't think we'll be able to charge him with this infantry unit. Fire from the flyer, firing through, caused a wound on his Hive Tyrant. And that's about it. These guys have run forwards down into the river, so they've moved up pretty fast. And then the Catacomb Command Barge has gone 18 inches in this direction. It's gone from there to there. So we might try and finish off those Raveners in the assault phase with these guys here. We'll see what we can do. And we're wondering about whether to charge the Morlock as well. See as we move on to the assault phase for Necrons on turn 2. Right, on the assault phase, I wanted these guys to charge there. That would have been really handy, because he would have had to test to regroup on LD6, and if he'd failed, he would have been wiped out. But not good when you roll a double 1. So they failed. So what I'm going to try and do here, watch this, see if we can make it. These guys are going to try and charge here. I want something like an 8 will do. 9. Charging through cover though, so I'm going to roll another dice, because we will be touching the cover as we go through. Another 6 will be good. A 4, so I have to take off the highest. A 7. It's going to be tight. Let's have a look. 7 inches. No, we are an inch and a bit short. So they failed to charge. The Raveners, well, they're falling back. They live. They're not going to be able to do too much, but they have not been destroyed. So First Blood is still open in this game. We've got an assault here. The 2 units of Scarabs have charged in. Might be a bad idea, but we'll see if we can do any kind of damage against the Morlock. If we cause 1 wound and he doesn't save it, then he loses his armor save for the rest of the game. So we're going to move on to assault results now on turn 2. Right, initiative 4, James goes first, and he's decided to direct his attacks against this unit here. He's got 3 attacks. He could get First Blood with a really good roll. So he wants Freeze to start off with. No, he's got 2 hits, and then he wants 2s to instantly kill.
2 dead.
He's 2 dead. He's done it. We'll see if we can get a wound back on him. We'll have to calculate how many. There's a lot of attacks there, but that's a good result for the Tyranids. Right, the lone base has failed to do any damage, and the other unit of 6 Scarabs, it's 5 attacks each, so that's 30 attacks. Want 4s, so we've got those, and then we've got some more, and then we've got a few more. 4s we want, so not bad. 4s is good, and that's about average, if not above average. And then we want 6s to wound, so like 3 6s would be nice. Got it, 3 6s, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to ask the James to make 3 saves of 3 plus. Any 1s and 2s, and that armor is gone. He's rolled a 2, so that has failed the save. That's a good result. Right, assault results. The Necrons on turn 2. We failed to do our charges over there. We didn't reach them, so those guys are free to carry on running away or regroup. And then down here, James killed 2 bases from this Scarab unit there. But here we got our hits, and then we got our wounds, and then he fouled one of his saves, had 3 saves to make, and has taken a wound, and has now lost its armor save for the rest of the game. So it's armored nothing, which is interesting. Never done that before in a game. using it against monstrous creatures. But that armor's been chewed up. And James is telling me he's got hit and runs. He's going to pull out of there, most likely. So he's going to do that now. And then once that's done, we're going to move on to... Yeah, it's turned out to be a good move for the Necrons. He wanted to break away from hit and run. He's failed his initiative check. So that means he is stuck in that combat with no armor save now. So the Morlock needs to be rescued. Or on 6s to wound, we're going to knock him out. That's a pretty good move for the Necrons. But he's in line for a kill point. So it's a critical point here. Already in the game. We're going to move on now to Tyranid turn 3. Alright, turn 3 for the Tyranids. It's getting kind of busy now. The Gaunt unit's just moving up behind the Turvigon, coming over to this side. These Gaunts are moving round. Another unit of Gaunts, and his Warlord, the Hive Tyrant, is moving out, burst through the fence, and is headed towards the Wraith. So it looks like might have a showdown there. Now we'll see if the Tyranids will be able to shoot at them, try and wear them down a bit, to sway it in their advantage coming round. Carnifexes have burst out the compound as well, and they're heading down the hillside and heading off towards the monoliths. There's a lot of movement now from the Tyranids. Still stuck in combat with the Morlock. It's not allowed to burrow back down again, so it's stuck there. But the Flying Hive Tyrant has come up, swung around, and it looks like he's going to go around and assault the Scarabs there. Then the Trigon has arrived. It wanted to land there and he got a hit, so it's landed exactly where he wanted. And then the Raveners have regrouped and gone 3 inches just into the woods there. So there's quite a lot going on the table now. And multiple threats from the Tyranids. It's a real mix-up going on. So we're going to move on now to shooting for the Tyranids on turn 3. Right, Tyranid shooting on turn 3. The Hive Tyrant fired down, caused a wound, but it was saved by the Necron Warriors. So there's no damage there. And then coming around, Hive Tyrant's nasty unit there. He did a psychic attack and has reduced my weapon skill and ballistic skill down to 1. And then hits from his Strangleform cannon caused 1 wound. I did a whole load of saves there. He got a direct hit, but just taking 1 wound on there. These guys have run. They're right at the barricades now. So you've got stampeding, rampaging Carnifexes storming up the table, headed towards the monoliths here, so that's not good. And then his other units are moving forwards, a couple of run moves done as well. So it's pretty good going. Game is not one-sided by far. There's a lot of activity going on. But we're going to move on now to assaults for the Tyranids, and he's hunting for that first blood crucial point, which looks like he's going to get down here. So we're going to move on to assaults now for the Tyranids on turn 3. Right, he's done it. He's got the result that he wanted. Scarabs failed to do any damage. The Morlock turned around and killed that last base. It's first blood to the Tyranids. It's 1-0. Well, 3 points each for objective, so it's 4-3 at the moment. And down here, the Hive Tyrant piled in. But the Hive Tyrant got his hits and killed 2 more bases. So the Scarabs lost badly there. But they're fearless, so that melee will continue. So it's kind of locked up there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But we're going to move on now to Necron turn 3. We'll see how they can do, see how they can reply to this ongoing melee here. Right, turn 3 for the Necrons movement. Necrons everywhere in the woods. The flyers dropped off 6. They've deployed and they've come round. There's a unit there. And then the barges swung round, and these guys are headed off to try and take on the Trigons. It's got a real showdown here. Right, and then the Overlord in the Catacomb command barge flew over 12 inches and did a sweep attack. 2 more wounds on the Raveners. That was a good move. And he swung around and is now facing the Trigon as well. So Necron units ganging up quite effectively, it looks, on the Tyranid monstrous creatures. And over here, we've bred 3 more Scarabs and thrown them straight into the combat, looking to get those 6s to wound. We're after that Morlock. And then these guys are moving around as monstrous creatures, so there's going to be a showdown here in this melee that's piling up with more and more units. Now, the threat from the Carnifex is we've backed off with the monoliths. We're just happy to sit in the middle of the table, dishing out some fire support to either side of the table. Coming around, the Night Scythes come in this direction, and then around the table. Even though we've been reduced to weapon skill and ballistic skill 1, the Wraiths fearlessly are moving out across the table to take on the Hive Tyrant, his Warlord. So we're going to have a showdown there in melee if we can charge into combat. And then up the table there you can see that the other flyer has arrived and has got an angle to fire at the Carnifexes as well, just trying to whittle down some wounds. So it's all going on all over the table. The game's really mixed up from end to end. Going to move on now to Necron shooting on turn 3, halfway through the game. To land. Come on, we're going to roll it up. Oh, yes. 2 inches. It'll be all right. It's just going to shift over a little bit. So we'll work that one out. So that's still hit, and we've wounded all 3 of them. So he's got to make cover saves of 5+ in the woods. 5 up saves. No, he's fouled. So that's 2 dead. I'll take off the ones with the 2 wounds. Right, it's impressive fire from the Necrons here. The Gauls weapons here have fired through and have caused in total 4 wounds on the Trigon. So that's knocked 4 out of 6 wounds down. Template weapons from these here, particle whip weapons firing down, or one of them fired down and has wiped out, almost wiped out the Raveners there. There's 1 left on 2 wounds. He passed Mouse, he's still going to sit there. Then coming around, this flyer fired across at the Tervigon, but he has taken a total of 2 wounds. That's good shooting again. And then the arc rule, 2 gaunts from here were killed, order 6 to hit them. Then order 6 for these, and 4 were killed as well. So that was added bonus. The other flyer across the table, you can see him there. He fired down across at the Carnifexes, whole load of hits, and he fouled some saves. Got 2 wounds on that Carnifex as well. So pretty good shooting from the Necrons, whittling down the Tyranids, weakening them. Is that going to be enough as we go into the assault phase now on turn 3 for the Necrons? Turn 3 assaults for the Necrons. There's a whole load here. These guys failed their fear test, or a double 6. Charged in anyway, but on weapon skill 1. Trying to try and finish off the Trigon here. And around here, the Tomb Spiders have charged. Monstrous creature versus monstrous creature there. That melee continues. There's a whole big melee here now. And then coming across, the Warlord for the Tyranids is under attack as the Wraiths fearlessly charge in. Machine versus alien in this. Alien beasts. As we face off. We'll give you the results of these as we move on to the assaults now. Necron turn 3 assaults. The Trigon's gone. The Overlord charged in and got 2 wounds with the War Scythe, so that finished him off, and then they've fallen back a few inches. It's a good result then. Killed a few Necrons, a couple got back up, and hopefully we will reconstruct some more and send them out on following turns. Coming down here, went bad for the Necrons, some more damage on the Scarabs, and then he's broke away with hit and runs. The Morlock's now here, and then the Hive Tyrant turned around and killed one of the Tomb Spiders, and we did no damage in return. So that's not good there. That melee continues, as both the Necron units are fearless. And then coming around, a real vicious fight between the Hive Tyrant and the Wraiths. He's killed a base and a wound. In return, we've caused a wound on one of the Hive Guard, and then 3 wounds of rending hits on the Hive Tyrants, and that melee will continue. A real nasty one at this part of the table. And that's the Warlord there. So we're going to move on now to Tyranid turn 4. Right, Tyranid turn 4. He's looking to support his Hive Tyrant before he's killed. It's a rush now, so the Carnifexes have swung around and are going to try and take out the Wraiths. There's still a lot of Wraiths, there's 5 of them. So the clock is ticking for that Hive Tyrant. His time may come. Remember, he took off the head of the Eldar Avatar, and now maybe he's met his match against these Necron Wraiths. So they've moved in. Looks like the smaller infantry units are going to try and charge as well. Just still holding on to the objective quite comfortably. Then coming around the table, Morlock hasn't burrowed. He looks like he's going to charge back in again. Hive Tyrant continuing melee, and then the last Ravener has swung around here, looking just to get that line breaker for future turn 5. So moving on now to shooting phase for the for the Tyranids on turn 4. Right, no shooting really for the Tyranids. It's piling in for melees, so we've gone straight into the melee phase. Morlock's charged in. That melee continues. So there's a real bust up here, and as we come around the table, look at this mess. Both Gaunt units have charged in, and the Carnifexes. So it is a royal bust up as these two, well, there's multiple units in there. 1, 2, 3, 4 Tyranid units against the Wraiths. There's something about that unit that everybody hates, but we'll figure all that out. It's going to be quite a complicated melee. We'll see if we can get results there. Will the Hive Tyrant survive? The Warlord could die on this turn. So moving on to assault results on Tyranid turn 4. Right, melee results on turn 4 for the Tyranids. Pretty good going. Another Tomb Spider's gone. He's killed by the Hive Tyrant. In return, we did a smash attack and got a wound. And then the Morlock smashing has killed a whole load of Scarabases. There's only 2 left. We're all fearless, still carrying on, but being destroyed there. I don't think we're going to last much longer. So that's good fighting power from the Tyranid monstrous creatures there. And then round the other side, the Wraiths survived all the attacks coming in and managed to kill the Hive Tyrant. He's gone. And then the remaining units that are charged in Initiative 1 managed to knock the Wraiths right down. There's only 1 Wraith left with 1 wound remaining, but mission accomplished. Hive Tyrant has been slain, and the Tyranids couldn't rescue him in time. So that's the end of Tyranid assaults on turn 4. We're going to move on to Necron turn 4. Can they remedy the situation here? Because the game looks like it may be swinging in the favour of the Tyranids. Right, Necron turn 4. The commander has got back on the barge of his unit. We regenerated a Necron as well, and then this unit of 6 has moved up, headed towards the objective, and it looks like we're going to try and fire down there and kill off the Ravener. Down here, one of the monoliths has moved right up to the river's edge there, just trying to get some shots off at the Tervigon. And down here we'll see if this Overlord will be able to charge in and try and rescue the day against the winged Hive Tyrant. See if he can charge in. Flyers moved in, and then the other flyers flown off the table, moved off of combat airspace. Didn't really have a target. And then over here this melee continues. Going to move in now to shooting for the Necrons. We'll see how well we can do. Right, shooting for the Necrons on turn 4. These guys fired down. Failed to kill him with the flare arrays there, but with the guys inside, with the Fire on special roll, they were able to hit him and kill the Ravener there. So he's gone. Monoliths fired forwards. One of them did, caused another wound on the Tervigon there. So there's 3 wounds in total, and that's it for shooting for Necrons. Going to assaults now. You've got 1 to carry on there, and then the charging chariot as well. So we're going to move on to assaults for the Necrons. Right, dopey from the Necrons, really. The Necron Overlord charged in, and the Hive Tyrant singled him out and killed him in one round of melee. So he's gone, just an empty chariot sitting there with two guys operating the computers. And then coming round, the Morlock struck, killed another base, and then has hit and run, fallen back again. And that melee just continues. And then bad news for the Necrons around this side as well. The last Wraith was killed, and this whole pile of Tyranids is now moving back across the table on the consolidation. So the game has really swung in favour of the Tyranids as we move on to turn 5. Right, Tyranid turn 5 movement, it really is just crowding back around the objective. The infantry units coming back in. And then the Carnifex is heading off across the battlefield. He's facing that direction just so he doesn't fall over as he goes down the hillside. So those guys are moving down, and then the melee continues here. It looks like he's pushing the Morlock forwards to try and get that line breaker point as the game can end on turn 5. So we're going to move on now to shooting and assaults for Tyranids on turn 5. Right, charges. The Morlock's charged in. He's not charged enough. He hasn't got line breaker yet, but if they wipe out those units, they can consolidate up the table, and they might be able to snatch a line breaker at the end there. And then the Carnifexes, he tried to charge at the monolith and failed. These guys really have just run a few more inches just to consolidate near the objective. It's quite safe, really. And then the melee will continue here. We'll get the results for this one and then move on to Necron turns. So results there, the Tomb Spider was killed, and the Scarab was killed as well. And he's rolled 2 5s for his consolidation moves. Both of those now claiming the line breaker. So the game at the moment officially is being won by the Tyranids, but Necrons have got a chance. So remember that Morlock's got no armor save, and the Hive Tyrant took a wound, at least, from the Tomb Spider. So he's on his last wound there as well. So going to move on now to Necron turn 5. Can they snatch it with the possibility of the game ending? Right, Necron movement on turn 5. These guys are sitting on the objective just there. The Ghost Stark swung around, moved 6, deployed these guys 6, and we're in good shooting range and able to charge. So in a position there. Transport's still alive, still got the Gauze Cannon underneath, so we've got some firepower there. And then the monoliths have moved around to try and finish these guys off as well. And then the Flyers arrived. Going to take on the Carnifex, it's just a bit of supporting fire, and this one's moved, and then he's deployed his troops just there, just to claim the line breaker rule. So we're going to move on to shooting now for the Necrons. It's actually quite a bit in this closing part of the game. Right, Necron shooting. These guys fired down, did well, caused the final 2 wounds on the Morlock with sporting fire coming in from the Gauze Cannon from this. Caused a wound, and then template fire, whip coal, or particle whip weapons coming down and causing wounds on the Morlock as well. Hive Tyrant was killed, so that's eliminated that threat. It's now an empty part of the battlefield. A couple of wounds coming down from the Flyer as well on the Carnifex brood over there, and then just to finish off, these guys ran behind there. So there's no assaults, just an Tyranid threat has been cleared, and really it's just Tyranids hanging around their objective here, still holding it, and then Necrons comfortably sitting on theirs as well. So it's quite an honourable standoff as we end the turn on turn 5. So we are out of time this evening, which is a shame. We have to end the game on turn 5. We're quite happy to do that, but it's closing time now, so we've got to finish. So adding up the points, both sides held their objectives. The Necrons held theirs, it's 3 points, and the Tyranids held theirs. First blood went to the Tyranids, they got a point for that. Necrons got line breaker, and Necrons got slay the Warlords. So they've tipped it with just 1 point at the end. So the final result is 5-4 to the Necrons. A very, very close game. Both sides fought very well, but really as the game ended early, I think a rematch is deserved between these two forces. Good game all round.